G'day, my name is Sandra Tuszynska. You can think of me as two shins in a car if you like, just to make my last name a little bit easier to grasp. I have already put a lot of content on my YouTube channel regarding my passion for biodiversity. However, I have failed to acknowledge the very being, the person that has created the very subject matter which I am so passionate about. My greatest desire in life is to really get to know, or at least see, all the creatures great and small that have ever walked the earth and are yet to walk the earth. And the earth is just a tiny part of the universe, so I suppose I've got a lot of work to do ahead of me in order to actually meet all of them that inhabit the universe as we know it. One of the reasons I have not mentioned the very being that is responsible for the very gifts of the creatures that I'm in love with has been my big block as a scientist to acknowledge God and God's existence and God's handiwork in creating the incredible ecosystem and the incredible creatures that inhabit the earth, as well as us as God's children. There has been many reasons for that, but I've always felt that it is logically impossible for all the beautiful things that exist on earth, all the creatures great and small, all the workings and perfection of the laws that govern the earth and govern the universe, for them to have come from mindless matter. So it is obvious to me that there has to be a designer of the intricacies, the intelligence, the logic, the beauty, the art, the science, the biology, the physics, the mathematics. All of that has to have a scientist, a mathematician, an artist, an engineer, a designer that had to have put thought, feeling, design, engineering into all of it. It is simply impossible for there not to be, simply as it is impossible for computer software to exist without someone having first input the information in order for it to deliver its function. So while the logic follows that a designer must exist, it has been difficult for me to admit that for a very long time. And partly it is to do with the fact that I have been raised a very strict Roman Catholic, where God has been not a very nice person, a punishing parent, someone who I wanted to hide from most of my life. And it hasn't been until around 14 years ago that I have come across the divine truth teachings. And these teachings are delivered by Jesus, who has returned back to earth, who came back with his soulmate Mary Magdalene, so the other half of the whole soul that is Jesus and Mary, to teach the truths of God. And even though I have loved the divine truth teachings for the 14 years, that amount of time that I have been listening to them, it hasn't actually been until recently that I've actually began to appreciate that the main focus of those teachings are about a relationship with God. I've been still trying to avoid God as a being for those same reasons I have mentioned, but also because I have not wanted to see where I directly rebel against God and the sheer arrogance of believing that how I am is a good way to be. However, 2 years ago, around August, I have begun to participate in God's Way activities. And Jesus and Mary have been designing activities in order for participants to learn how to live God's way. And in that process, there has been a lot of feedback that I have been fortunate enough to receive about my own condition and where I'm actually at. And that has been invaluable to being able to finally see just the level of arrogance and the level of denial of the truth of God, and in that, God's existence. So even though I have been extremely passionate about the subject matter that I'm mostly in love with, and that is all about God's creatures, and really love the way they feel to me, and I can feel that God's personality and nature is expressed in these beautiful beings that I so cherish with a childlike heart and really appreciate the delicate and intelligent way and intricate way that God designed them, and express their beauty and their behavior and in the way they function and their importance in the environment and their unique role in the environment. All of those things really, really speak to my heart, but I have not really fully appreciated the intention with which God made them and God's intention in that. So despite this intellectual understanding, at least, of the ecosystem functions via which the organisms and their habitat interact to make life possible on Earth, to make life possible for us, I have failed to see this relationship between God's personality in nature and the way that God expresses himself, herself, within the environment surrounding us. And the most interesting part about this is that each of us has obviously got, as part of our own design, as part of the design of our soul, our own unique attributes or gifts that God has designed into us. And for myself personally, I know for sure that there is a big part of my soul that thrives and desires and experiences immense joy by observing or interacting with God's biological creations. And therefore, one of the ways by which I can have a personal relationship with God is to interact through that passion with God. And I definitely feel that when my heart is really, really open and I allow myself to be overwhelmed by the gifts that I get by interacting with nature and the creatures that inhabit ecosystems, I then can feel not only that God exists, but also that God is the direct creator of those organisms, and that I am uniquely designed to be able to appreciate those to a pretty overwhelming level. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because I failed to make a point of this acknowledgement that I now feel I have to make in order to share my passion for nature and my passion for organisms, for all creatures great and small. I first must acknowledge the being that has made them, and I find the adorableness and the cuteness of all those little creatures just so endearing and such a gift to me. To me personally, I feel like every interaction I have with all these creatures and that I get to experience through the camera when I take videos of them and just look at them or study them or learn about them, it is a personal communication for me. And it feels like it is a personal gift because I happen to be there and find them and no one else happens to be there. So it definitely is personal. But the bottom line is that the only reason why I can actually express this gratitude now that I feel is through the process that I have engaged in the last 2 years, learning divine truth directly from Jesus and Mary and being right there and being very, very resistive to it for a long time. But there are some beginnings that I can feel where my heart is opening, and I cannot thank them enough for being so generous with their time, with sharing their house with the people that participate, sharing all of their resources, being so, so generous in every way and patient and loving and kind, just being so, so, so kind in order for us, the people that attend and participate, to actually experience joy and happiness in our lives. And that is the main point. And the thing that I've been missing is the fact that the relationship with God and receiving God's love directly and learning from God directly through our conscience, through heart-to-heart communication with God, is the very basis of how we can attain true happiness, true joy, and free the world from all the suffering, free ourselves from the suffering. We just have to ask God for help. And this is the part that I have been so, so resistive to, but I'm finally softening a little bit to this. And I really strongly believe that part of the softening comes from the fact that my heart is a little bit softer to the intricacies of our ecosystems. And one of the primary ways in which the activities for God's Way have been designed is to open our hearts to the environment first. And it just so happens that I'm already a little bit open, and therefore it is something that has really, really, really spoken to me. And my attitude has changed over time. And even though I believed that I already loved the environment and that I was willing to do anything to repair it, I have failed to see how much of my resistance to God's truth and my own arrogance and my own sin, my unwillingness to love, have really impacted the environment negatively. And this is where it is so essential to understand that until we actually open our hearts fully to the truth that what is within us is directly reflected in the environment, and how our pain and suffering that we have caused and that we cause to others directly and negatively impacts the environment, where that shift to actually remove the turmoil, the pain, the sin, the things that don't belong within us is essential in order to actually repair the environment. And this is where my understanding of that is starting to grow, and I feel like it is such an important thing to share, because this is what I'm passionate about. I would love to fix the environment so that we can have better lives, so that future generations can breathe clean air, eat abundant food, be able to experience all the joy and beauty of all the creatures that God has put on earth for us to enjoy and interact with, besides each other, of course. And so this is the reason why I wanted to talk about this before I post any more videos. And I've got thousands of videos of creatures that maybe people have never seen, maybe species that haven't even been encountered, possibly. Definitely some of the microscopic creatures I record may not even have been seen by anyone else. And I just think it's such a wonderful gift. And the fact that I can share some of the footage, it will just be something that I can contribute, because I have spent the time in making the recordings and documenting those creatures. Additionally, what I would like to do with that information is not only to inspire other people's hearts and help others to open their hearts to the beauty and intricacy and intelligence and purpose in all these creatures, but also to instill a feeling in us of desire to repair the environment, repair the ecosystem, so that we can all have a better future, so that humanity can continue in a beautiful environment, and in an environment that is not polluted and not sick, so that we can live happier lives and we can be outside and enjoy the trees that we can plant for future generations. This is my reason for sharing it, but I cannot stress enough the gift that Jesus and Mary have come to give to the world. And I encourage people to really look into divine truth and open their hearts to what is being said, because that is truly what is going to bring us joy. And I know that from personal experience. And even though I don't consider myself at the moment to be the most joyful, I'm in a process where the pain that I'm seeing in my life and the mess that I've created, I can see that it's the direct result of my own unhappiness. And in order to change that, I must seek God's truth in order to free myself from that pain and suffering and fix my very mess that I've created. So this is where I'm at, and my desire is to grow that, is to keep seeking and learning from God, and to keep wanting God's truth on every matter, not just on the creatures that I enjoy learning about, but also about myself as a creature of God. So I won't say much more than this, and I just wanted to make a preamble to what's to come, because I will be posting a lot of what I believe to be very, very cool gift from God that I have been given, and sharing that gift with other people because it brings me joy. So thanks so much for listening, and you'll be hearing from me again next time. Bye for now.